Alright guys, I gotta come clean. The car behind me has not been on the channel, and that's for a very long time, but let me tell you what happened.
There's something wrong with the motor. I don't know if it's a spun bearing, or I don't know if it's I have raw knock.
This all started when I tried to head to a show called Tuner Evo Minneapolis. That was at the very beginning of October. I showed up with the car was 100% ready, dialed in, we put a temporary livery on it, we made it look perfect. It was 100% ready for the show. Unfortunately, when I got there, I realized that there was a 1/4 fuel capacity, as it was an inside event, and that's what fire marshals expect. Now, when we were there, I was driving it, and we went for a drive to make sure I could lose the remaining little bit of gas that I had in the car. I was on a freeway 6 lanes wide, and I shifted into 4th. When I shifted into 4th, I heard a loud explosion. I lost all power in my dash. We went from 60 to about 40 in half of a second, and big semis were driving past us. We ended up getting to the side of the road, which I definitely knew something was wrong with the motor. Now, I didn't know what at the time. I tried to turn the car back on. After a while, it reluctantly turned back on. We were able to get from the shoulder over to the off-ramp and park the car. That's where I diagnosed it further, and I figured out that most likely it was starved for oil. Now, the 1.6 has a short block and has a really hard time keeping itself with enough fuel and oil. It is not the best motor, and it does not have the best amount of power. And just because we blew up the motor in my 20,000 mile Miata, I'm going to replace it with a 1.8 liter, and instead we're going to make sure this thing has a lot more horsepower and a lot more torque. Now, I'm going to show you guys, I already picked up the motor. Here's us picking up the motor.
Buying motors on the internet is always a risky thing, and I, with my best confidence, I saw a video of this running yesterday. Realistically, this is a 1.8 liter. If you guys don't know, that is out of the later generations. The Miata make about a 75, 65 more low-end torque. There are just things that we're going to go back through and fix on this. And I also have the 1.6 liter, which we can take off anything that we need to that is not working on here. I also, with the motor, came a purchase of the entire wire harness and ECU for the entire car. Like, the entire car, like taillights, everything, fuse box, everything that runs on this. I also have the engine harness for the motor. My 1.6 liter, there's a conversion kit to be able to convert a 1.6 liter platform to a 1.8 liter, and that kit gives you all the connectors you need for your 1.6 harness.
And I had to remove it into our brand new workshop, which is this garage right here.
Baby, stop it with your questions. I'm here now, so I think you got the message. Rough pass, so I know you got.
I have Flying Miata's conversion kit from a 1.8 to a 1.6, as well as 1.6 engine brackets that I'm going to be installing in this car shortly. I've started taking off the other side's throttle body. I need to take off this one off of this side, and then what is going to be mounted in between it is going to be this nice fancy adapter plate, which I know is going to go just like this. Instead of those holes, it'll be these instead. Taking off the throttle on the front of this one. This I'm gonna loosen up, take off fully. It looks like there is some sort of line that is still keeping it up over here. I'm gonna grab some pliers real quick. Okay, it is officially off, out with the old, in with the new. Okay, so it looks like I need to tap 2 holes on the bottom down over here. Then we can mount the new throttle spacer over this and mount into these holes down here. Now, realistically, this is going to be a crazy build, and I haven't really let you guys in on what I'm going to be doing. I have a couple different options. I do already have a pretty crazy wide-body car, which is my Mustang. If you guys haven't seen videos on that, there's plenty of videos on my channel in regards to it, but I have a lot of other cool things in mind. So I could wide body this car. Mozzie created a pretty crazy kit using Piston Zero's render of this car. I'll pop up a couple photos. It is very wide and very crazy looking. I do like that car. Now, do I want to make sure all my cars are wide body? I do think wide body cars transform like the stock appearance and make it very one of one. Anyone can buy a Miata off a showroom floor and keep it OEM.
I don't think that makes it very special. I think for this first vision, because I am saving for a very crazy project into the next year, I think for this first version, all I do is put the 1.8 in it, and then instead of all the ABS black carbon, or instead of all the ABS accents, I make it carbon instead. And I think that's something that's just going to transform the look, in my opinion, and make sure I enjoy that car just a little bit more, and something that I can do myself. This is the 1.6 liter throttle body onto the 1.8 liter intake using the Flying Miata conversion kit for this. I just want to say that in person, this looks absolutely incredible. On camera, it looks all right, but trust me when I say that there is a ton of flake in here.
Independent, get her own money shit. Kinda funny cause she know what it is. And she a street bitch, meaning it's a green light. So what? Guess I gotta take her home with me. Type shit, I guess, and that's a whole.
I can't even believe I'm saying this right now, but this is with the brand new paint. I painted this myself with just a rattle can, and it looks absolutely spotless. You guys might remember the original color, which I'll throw up right here, which is this blue. It was very hideous and very terrible quality paint. Instead, I sanded it down, marked it on up. Instead, I got this beautiful pearlescent paint. Super excited for how that came out. I already installed all of my old shiny hardware off of this Miata onto this one. Took the oil cap, freshened it up, put my black ones instead of the terribly painted blue ones, which were on the car over there. Put it back onto here. We got everything set up except for I'm going to be putting on the intake manifold cover, which was also painted bright blue. I have the front engine cover over here painted, and then I have the intake itself painted. I'm going to throw this one on. It is going to look incredible. That silver is going to look absolutely insane inside of this car, especially with all the silver wheels and silver accents.
I'm here now, so I think you got the message. A rough pass, so I know you got some wreckage. I peep how you be barking with your best friend. No ring on, I've been staring at your left hand. I must shoot, I ain't talking about no left.
So this is the coil pack that came off that car. I know where that plug goes, which goes right over there. Now this is my 1.6 liter coil pack, and I'm putting it with that bracket under the back of here. I have my old coil pack, and I discovered these wires that go through my entire engine. I have to retake off the intake manifold, which I just put on. I have to undo it so that way I can access, I think, these plugs that don't need to be on my wiring harness. So I'm going to take those out, see where all the wires go, and then go back to this again. Okay, I just took off all the wiring that went into all these different fuel injectors off the fuel rail, and each one of them are just spliced into here in order. Now, this is the old coil pack I will not be using, but I have a feeling I'll need to use these connectors, as I'm sure my other connectors are different and they won't plug into them. So I'm going to make sure that these work before I do anything. If not, I'm going to cut and splice these wires onto there so that they fire in the correct order. As in the instructions, there is going to be a power cable, which is going to be the red one, and these other two, the white and black one and the white one, are signal wires. And in the kit, it expects us to be able to do the firing order of the 1.8 liter. Firing order of the 1.8 is 1423, which is the way that it's supposed to be. And the 1.6 is very different. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap the signal wire, so the non-red wires, on both of these with each other real quick, and then we should be good to go as far as the way that it's sending ignition to each one of these coil packs. Noting that the white one is on the left-hand side right now, and the black and white one is on the right-hand side. We're going to swap that real quick, and we can use this as a little shimmy to be able to get off that plastic piece. So, white and black on the left-hand side.
Flat there.
And white on the other side now. There we go. Now we're going to tighten on the bolts for both of those, and we should be good to go. Every single video I've seen on this engine swap has yet to show that, by the way. So I'm making sure I'm including as detailed steps as I can a part of this, because I know a lot of people, when they watch the video, it feels like it's very easy, but then once you get to it, it does feel a little bit more daunting once you see a ton of different wires in every direction and hoses everywhere. Those two wires have officially swapped. Now we're going to go back to it, and we're gonna bolt this up. Okay, I picked up new hardware. This is the adapter plate that Flying Miata gives you so that you can plug in your old 1.6 ignition coils onto the back of the 1.8 block. I got some new hardware because I couldn't find my old hardware that went into this one. There's 3 bolts, 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. I want to make sure this wire gets tucked off to the right-hand side, as that is the side in which it is going to get held. I might want to put a washer here if I wanted to make sure this was extra secure on the bottom, which I will do. On the Flying Miata kit, this is the place in which they give it to you. I would recommend throwing a washer on this last bottom bolt. Even with the top bolts fully bolted in on the top, this one isn't being held on all the way around. So just adding that washer is going to give me that extra little peace of mind and make sure that this is 100% mounted in place and good to go. Super happy with how that came out. The coil packs are in a perfect place, and I think they look really good right there. I'm able to sneak the wire that we're going to be able to use out and around over here, so that should work perfect.